Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing a dark romance recommendation video. Maybe like 80% of the books that I have been reading are usually dark romance. Probably one of my favorite romance genres to read. I read that quite a lot. I just have a list here of books that I want to talk about today, and then I also have my laptop here so that I can just go to my notes on here as well and make sure I don't forget anything I want to tell these books. Let's get right into this because it's my son's nap time right now, so I'm trying to get this video done while he's napping. You guys might also hear my daughters out in the living room. They're playing a game on their iPads while I do this. Let's just get right into this. Also, I'm going to try my hardest not to look down at my computer. You guys might also hear my animals. Let's just get right into this. I don't really have a particular order that I have these in. I kind of just wrote these down. There are some reverse harems that I have talked about before, like a while ago. I think I'm going to first start off with books that I physically own. Okay, so first book we're going to be talking about is There Are No Saints by Sophia Lark. I do have the other book on my shelf. Only read the first one, There Are No Saints, and I enjoyed it. I liked it. So we're following Myra and Cole. Myra is a struggling artist and beautiful paintings and things like that. But then we have Cole, who grew up kind of like in the artist industry in San Francisco. So he has more background. He already had like a head start because his family was already in that business. He's also a sociopath and a serial killer. Okay, don't we love that when the main character is a sociopath and a serial killer? Then we have another artist who is a part of that world, but Cole absolutely hates Shaw. Shaw ends up seeing that Cole has an interest in Myra and ends up kidnapping Myra and literally trying to kill her. And we read all of it, what she's feeling in that moment, what she's experiencing, until she obviously gets saved. What makes it even crazier is that Cole ends up seeing her tied up and almost dead because Shaw ends up putting her in where he dumps his bodies. So it's a whole twisted thing. So you see slowly that Cole kind of wants Myra under his thumb so that she doesn't go spilling to anyone about anything. It's just crazy because as he's doing that, he kind of realized like, hey, like he's never felt any of these feelings that he's feeling for her before, and now he wants to keep her. He doesn't know if he actually just wants to keep her or if he's eventually going to kill her. So it was just a ride, because then we see like this rival between Shaw and Cole because Shaw is jealous of Cole. So there's like this whole rivalry thing. So, and there's just a lot of drama that kind of happens in it. And we also really get to know Myra and Cole, and Myra's kind of just in the crossfire of it all because she was the one that Cole kind of had eyes for, and that's what kind of led to all the events happening in this book. I know the second one starts off really wild. I am guessing it's definitely dark and gory, and just it was good. I enjoyed it. Next I want to talk about is the whole Midnight Mayhem series by Amo Jones. I know I talk about the Elite King Clubs a ton on my page, but I don't ever talk about the Midnight Mayhem series, and it's probably my second favorite series by Amo Jones. And what I like about this is kind of like in the same world as EKG, except obviously in this one it's in the same world, but like obviously we're really following these characters, and we get like a glimpse at the end of the EK, oh my god, I can't talk, the Elite Kings Club guys in it as well, and I just really enjoyed it. This one is dark. You see Dove Henry, which is her name, and Kingston Axton kind of come together, but like in this dark and twisty way that Amo does. And then there's just a lot of like little crumbs throughout it that leave you like, what's gonna happen in the next book? In this series, they're all companion novels, so we are seeing all of the Midnight Havoc guys in it. I believe there's 4 of them if I'm not mistaken, and we're seeing each of their relationships in every one of them. Each of the guys gets their own books. I believe in one of the books, right here, and in Silence She Screams, we actually get an EKG guy, an EKC. Why do I keep saying EKG? And it just freaking blew my mind. I just love this series. It's probably one of my favorite series, but I do want to read the back of this because I can't say too much or he's gonna give a lot of it away. So it says, my name is Dove Hendry. Mine is Kingston Axton. I was captured by darkness. She has always been ours. They groomed me for midnight mayhem like a trained possession, weak against their control. She has been conditioned with our blood for years. She just doesn't know it yet. But midnight mayhem has stained glass that concealed a very dark culture, a culture that she is about to become the center of. The brothers of Kinsnich, I'm pretty sure I butchered that, comes in fours, and they're not happy about me being hustled into their acts. Or are we? Careful, little bird. A warning is a warning for a reason. Mind tricks, stunts, deceit, power. But there's something uglier that has been haunting me for years upon years. So ugly that I have never seen the face of it. I never had to. I'd hear his whispers through my internal screams, feel his shadows brush against my nightmares. He was the monster that tormented me and maybe lived under my bed. When I started Mayhem, his presence faded, his whispers was silenced, his shadows dissolved without a trace. I wonder why that was. She didn't have to wonder for long. Something about this series that I really liked is just the concept of it. They're kind of like a circus, but like an adult circus. So there's a lot of nudity, a lot of just sexual acts that go on during this Midnight Mayhem. And it's very intriguing how she came up with the series. I don't know. It's very unique. I've never read a series like this one, and I absolutely devoured it and love it so much. I am going to be talking about the Unsainted series. I only read the first 2 books in this series. It's called These Monstrous Ties and then Hooray for Scars. And these 2 books are following the same romance characters, like the same main characters, I guess I should say. Lucifer and Lilith, which is aka Sid is her actual name. These books are dark. I'm literally going to just read the back of Monstrous Ties just so you know. Something happens one Halloween night and she wants revenge for what was done to her and what has happened to her. And when I say that Lucifer is one of those alpha males that just does not give a fuck, like he might not want you, but guess what? Nobody else is allowed to want you. That is him. I was Lilith, he was always Lucifer. Halloween night 1 year ago, I sold my soul to the devil, complete with a blood riot and everything. I had less than nothing. He promised me the world. And then he disappears, taking my heart with him. But now he's the one, everything to lose, a family, a name, a reputation. I've still got nothing, but I'm clawing my way to the top, one body at a time. This Halloween, things are going to be different. This Halloween, Lilith is coming to take what's hers. It was just so good. This series, like kind of like how it has like that secret society, like their whole world and how it built, it kind of reminded me of the Elite's Kings Club, and that's why I first picked this up. But I just feel like in this book, there isn't gonna be a happily ever after. I think this book is still going. I only think I have up to book number 4, but like I said, after these 2, we still see them in other books, but I think the other ones are following the other male characters in here. I think there's another one where we're kind of getting all their points of view in, but you see that Lucifer and Sid are very, very toxic to one another. So if you love that dynamic, angst and toxic, but you're rooting for them anyways, there's just a lot of things going on in this one. I think what intrigued me was that it reminded me of EKC, but also that like there's this angst to it. I love a book with a lot of angst and that's gonna keep me on my toes, and this book did it. I also remember hearing that this book had like an incest thing. But as you keep reading, I hate that they advertise it, or when they talk about this series, they advertise it as that, because as you keep reading, you realize that that's not really the case, even though it kind of is, because she sees him as that. Does that make sense? But she's always had this different connection to him, but then she also has this really big, deep connection to Lucifer as well that just kind of keeps blowing your mind. I'm telling you, there's just a lot of different moving parts in here that at the end of book number 2, you have to jump right into book number 3. And I did do that, but then I stopped because I think I did something to myself. I wanted to see how book number 4 was gonna like start off, and I see that like I read this scene that Lucifer does with his best friend and his best friend girlfriend, and I'm just like, I can't accept it. Because once you say that this girl, because when you read, let me take a step, my mind's all over the place right now. When I read a book and I see that like, hey, at the beginning you see like in, sorry that I keep comparing it to it, but like in Elite's Kings Club, like you see like how all their relationships go in EKC, where like the male's still doing what he wants because they're not officially together, and once they are together, they don't go and mess around or do any of that crazy shit. Like, I feel like in this one, like he knew that they were together, and Lucifer still went behind her back and was still seeing other people and doing other things, and it just kind of threw me for a loop, because I'm like, are we gonna get a happily ever after in this series? Like, I really want to actually message KV Rose and be like, are we gonna get a happily ever after in this series, or am I just gonna be left with like my heart broken and not knowing how to feel because everybody's emotions all over the place? Do want to finish the 3rd book to see how that goes, but then I'm gonna be really nervous to start that 4th book that has just so much more of Sid and Lucifer and Jeremiah in it, because it's gonna just blow my mind. I already know it. I might just be a mess, a puddle on the floor, basically. Okay, now these other books, I do not have the physical copies of them. They all are on KU, and I have read them and I absolutely devoured them. First book we're going to be talking about, I read near the end of last year, which is called Mine by A.K. Rose. This is a reverse harem, a cult. There's a lot of secrets. This is a stepbrother romance. I think her name is Ruth. Maybe it's Ruth. It's Ryth. Tobias, Caleb, and Nick. Her dad ends up going to prison, which we eventually eventually find out throughout the series why that ended up happening, but her mother ends up marrying the guy's dad, Creed. And this is all happening not too long after the guys just left their mother. So their mother's not even grass on their mother's grave at this point, and their dad is already married to someone else. They are angry, very, very angry, and they basically want to make her hurt because they obviously can't hurt her mother or their dad. So they're gonna go to the next best thing, which is her. She goes through it. They become obsessed with her. They end up falling in love with her throughout the series. We end up learning more about like what her mother is truly into, why her father is in prison, things like that. They become very protective of her. See gangs in this book. There's just a lot of crazy things that happen in this book that I just was not expecting, that I was all for. When I think of a dark romance, this book is the epitome of it. Just wild, crazy stuff happens in this one that I was just like, okay, I'm all for it. Next, we have Deadly Affairs by Ivy Fox and K.A. Knight. I know a lot of you guys have probably read K.A. Knight's One and Only, and I'll put it right here, the picture. And this is actually one that isn't a reverse harem, and it's probably the first one that I read by K.A. Knight that isn't a reverse harem when I think about it. And like I said, it's called Deadly Affairs, and this is following Lila and Lark. Lark is a professional hitman. That is literally his job. That's what he has always done. He basically starts stalking Layla and her sister Zoe. He's been stalking them since like they started living with their aunt, and they live with their aunt because their stepdad ended up killing their mom and little brother. So they obviously went to the next of kin, which was their aunt. I want to say some years pass by. Like once she graduates, she decides like, hey, like she's not going to live there anymore. She takes her sister and her to the city, and kind of is like in the shitty part of the city. So she starts stripping to obviously provide for her sister. Her sister has really bad migraines. She has like a lot of doctor visits and things like that. And I believe there's a procedure that her sister needs to kind of like take away the migraines. She obviously can't afford it. He finds out that she is stripping and literally drops everything to basically claim her, and like makes her a deal like, hey, I'll marry you and I'll pay for your sister's treatments and things like that, but I also want you to go do what you want to do and I'll take care of you. It becomes this whole thing, and she kind of agrees, but like she doesn't know that he's been stalking her until he kind of like eventually, you know, they get into it and their relationship starts building. He is very, very loyal to both those girls. Like he would do anything to protect them. It was just really different but nice to read. I believe he is a lot older than her too, maybe not by much, but he is an older man, and I just devoured this book. It ended with us seeing Grayson, which is another hitman, and Zoe, and you can kind of see like maybe they're the next book in this series. I haven't read it yet. This whole series is about hitmans and falling in love, and if you like that kind of thing, go read it. I did. I enjoyed it. I think I gave it like 4 stars. Then we're going to talk about Church by Stylo. Is it Fantome? I read this book when I believe I first started getting into reading again, or it could have been, I could be lying. When I first started getting into more of a dark romance aspect of it. Church is a sociopath and is also Emma's stepbrother. They both deal with a lot of mental health issues. Emma is a depressed 22-year-old with borderline personality disorder, and she also has an addictive personality. So like she becomes addicted to things very easily, and she also has a lot of PTSD. Church is very, very intelligent, okay? Emma's mom ends up getting married to Church's dad. It just becomes literally wild. They become very attracted to each other and dependent on each other. They really start falling for each other. Literally has no feelings towards anything until he meets her and ends up getting these feelings, which I always love a book that starts like that. Church finds an interest in Emma. Emma right away thinks that Church is going to be like her greatest thing, like her greatness. She wants to prove herself to him. So she starts stalking the girl from her college. Emma ends up getting very just jealous and upset because she's trying to understand why other women are getting his attention, but she's not getting the attention that she wants from him. She wants to know who these other women are. So basically she is willing to kill for him. So it says Emma will kill for Church to love her, but will Church do the same for her? A very toxic relationship, but very just don't want to say well written, but it just kept me very intrigued and on my toes. A second book in this duet called Reach, and it's just following their story from how that one ends. Another book that I really talk about is My Bloodline by Kean. This is the Featherstone Academy series, and this is a reverse harem. I love Kean's writing, by the way. Her reverse harems, chef kisses. This is following Luna, Roman, Oscar, Parker, and Kai. So Featherstone's Academy is a school for the underworld criminals. At this academy, there are different levels in different housing situations, I guess you can say. I can't remember what they all are, but I remember they are all in the Ace, and that's basically their families are like the top of the top underworld criminal families. They all live in a building. There's a lot that goes on in this one. There's different trials that they have to go through. They have to learn to work together, but then she's also getting not vision are they I don't can't remember if they're visions from her past or just like little things are reminding her and her memories coming back from things that happened to the past. So she doesn't know who to trust in this world now. It's all like kind of new to her, and she has a best friend named Red, and she's willing to do anything to protect her. Their friendship, it's probably my top favorite thing in reading this whole series. A lot happens in it. Honestly, I need to reread it soon again because I absolutely devoured it. And I read that one like maybe 2 years ago at this point, and I'm so upset that I haven't reread it because it's so good. And like there's a lot of action in it. You see a lot of like criminal things in it, and I just love it. I'm a sucker for a good academy book. Anything that has an academy in it, just send it to me and I'll literally eat it. I love just that whole aspect of a secret society, private school, or academy, a prep school, anything like that. Just send it my way and I will read it. Dark, cozy, anything, I'm gonna devour it because I just love that whole aspect, that whole genre of things. Remember at one point in this series there is a huge trial that they have to literally go through to be able to graduate to the next year or something like that, I believe, and it goes down action packed, funny, there's romance, there's smut, there's just everything in that book that I absolutely loved. And I think honestly in all the books that I've mentioned today there's just smut in it as well. So if you're not a real big smut person, then I would just go in and see how it is. So those are all my dark romance recommendations that I have for today. I do have a lot more that I want to read and a lot more recs that I want to put out to you guys about it, but these are ones that were kind of just on my mind when I was thinking about it and going through my Goodreads, see which books I have read and which books I wanted to share with you guys, and these are the ones that just popped into my head. I hope you guys enjoyed. If there's one book to read from here, I'm going to say it is either mine, because I absolutely love that one, or my Bloodline, because I devour that. I think I would devour those series very, very quickly in like a matter of like a week. So I would definitely go check those out. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!